Tanuki. Even though that's a Japanese word, I believe a lot of people would have at least heard of it, especially because things Japan is quite beloved. If you are not a stranger to Japanese popular media, you would have seen some stuff related to Tanuki. When I was a kid, Tanuki was often translated into raccoon in my country, which, if it's not obvious enough, is just raccoon. Not only that, English subtitles usually also translate Tanuki into raccoon, at least back then. However, nowadays, more often than not, I saw Tanuki translated into, well, just Tanuki or raccoon dog, which is the correct common name for the animal. Some people don't know why that is significant, so I decided to make this video, besides the fact that it's been quite a while since I make a video on mammal that is. So, let me bring up the question. What exactly is raccoon dog? First things first, I do agree that raccoon dog would look like a raccoon if you zoom at their face, especially if you are not used to seeing both of them. However, they are actually not that similar, and not even closely related. Well, not so much at least. Both of them are mammals, and both of them are carnivorans. Remember, carnivorans, not carnivores. Those are two different terms. Carnivores are animals that eat meat, while carnivorans are specific animals classified in the order Carnivora. But anyway, carnivorans are divided into two major groups, the cats, which is Feliformia, and the dogs, which is Caniformia. Both raccoons and raccoon dogs are caniforms, and that basically is where the similarity stops. Raccoons are closer to the bears, or more specifically, things like weasels, red panda, and skunks. You know what? Raccoons are technically closer to things like seals than to raccoon dogs. And now the question is, what are raccoon dogs closely related to? Well, the dogs. That's why they are called raccoon dogs, because they look like raccoon, but they are actually dogs. Well, not exactly. That's just an oversimplification. By the way, if you didn't know, one of the quote-unquote easy way to differentiate caniforms and falliforms is by looking at their walking gait. Falliforms are digitigrade, meaning they stand and walk on their digits, their fingers. Meanwhile, caniforms are typically plantigrade, meaning they stand and walk on their palms. I say typically because the dogs are digitigrades. So if you are wondering why the dogs are their own group among the caniforms, that's one of the reasons. But anyway, raccoon dogs themselves are classified in the dog family. You know how both Tanuki and Kitsune are often depicted as mischievous and somewhat magical? Both of them are often used in Japanese popular media, albeit Kitsune often depicted as graceful and sly, while Tanukis are on the opposite end of the spectrum usually. So why am I bringing this up, you might ask? Well, both raccoon dogs and foxes belong to the same tribe actually. So yeah, they are indeed closely related, albeit doesn't seem so at a glance. Animal systematics is quite something, huh? Anyway, raccoon dogs are animals in the genus Nyctereutes, which basically translates into night wanderer, a somewhat cool or edgy name for something that look like this. Non-derogatory though, I simply find it fascinating. There are two extant species of raccoon dogs, Nyctereutes procyonoides, which is the common raccoon dog, and Nyctereutes viverinus, which is the Japanese raccoon dog. Oh, another fun fact, Procyonoides means raccoon-like, while Viverinus means civet-like. Isn't it kind of funny how both of them are named after their likeness to another group of animals? I guess the fact that Tanuki are known to be shapeshifters do kind of fit, eh? Anyway, Japanese raccoon dog can only be found in Japan, while common raccoon dog can be found in Eastern Asia that is not Japan. But not only that, they are also introduced to Europe to be harvested for their fur. Nowadays, they are quite widespread in Europe, and they can be quite invasive. They might even continue to disperse, possibly even to the UK. So yeah, quite unfortunate. Anyway, people have been confusing raccoon dogs with raccoons. Hence, I will talk about how to differentiate the two. So let's talk about their morphology. But before that, raccoon dogs have a somewhat similar size to raccoons. Adults would reach around 40 to 70 centimeters long. Raccoon dogs might have heavier average weight, but some raccoons will definitely reach raccoon dog's weight. So now, let's just look at them side by side. See how different they are? They have different kinds of build. Raccoon dogs look plump and fluffy, which is why tanukis are often depicted as fat thingies. Their limbs and tails are proportionally shorter compared to raccoons. If we were talking about specific coloration, raccoon dogs don't have the black and white striped tail that raccoons have. Raccoon dogs have black legs, while raccoons don't. Well, unless you are talking about Procyon concrivorous, which do have black legs. Which is why I don't really like talking about coloration without being hyper-specific, because it could be confusing the more animals you are familiar with. But yeah, just look at the body proportion, or at the very least, look at the tail. Oh, actually, you could look at their feet, but don't focus on the color. Focus on how they stand, how they walk. Like I said, raccoons are plantigrade, so you will see the whole palm on the ground. Meanwhile, raccoon dogs are digitigrade, so you would see this, the dew claws, raised off the ground. So yeah, several things you could pay attention to, so choose the one you are comfortable with. Or just look at all of them just to be sure. But now, the face. Now that you look at them side by side, you should be able to differentiate them, right? But if it's not obvious, let me make it quite obvious. First of all, the ears. Again, proportion. Raccoon dogs looks like they have tiny ears, while raccoon's ears look normal, I suppose, significantly more prominent. But still, proportion might confuse people, so another thing to look at. This. Raccoons have the stripe on the middle, while raccoon dogs don't. Well, again, in the case of Procyon concrivorous, in which the black coloration might not look like a stripe because it's white and covers the whole nose. But again, raccoon dogs have lighter colored nose. And yeah, those should be enough to differentiate them. So now, how to differentiate Japanese raccoon dog with common raccoon dog? Now that is not an easy question to answer. Sure, in general, Japanese raccoon dogs are slenderer, often noted having a smaller tummy, and also smaller in general. However, without directly comparing both species, it wouldn't be practical. You might be looking at younger individual, or you could be looking at underweight, perhaps even malnourished individual. Besides that, Japanese raccoon dogs are also noted to have more goldish coloration. But again, at what point will the fur have to be considered golden enough so you would be sure that's a Japanese raccoon dog, and vice versa? Not only that though, their fur coloration could vary, quite a lot even. In rare mutation, the fur of common raccoon dog could even look like this. Oh yeah, that's definitely golden, somewhat similar to fox fur even, but not Japanese. It is also noted that Japanese raccoon dog have shorter fur. But again, same case. How short is too short for a common mainland raccoon dogs? You get the point. So, can we ever be so sure whether an individual is Japanese raccoon dog or common raccoon dog? The answer is yeah, if we're looking at molecular traits at least. Different chromosomes, different DNA sequences, etc. Which is definitely not practical on the field, at least not for regular people. Actually, there might be some skeletal traits that could be used as diagnostic character, but we don't have enough data on that, as far as I know at least. Not enough research focusing on that. But still, even if we get a skeletal diagnostic character, that is still quite impractical on the field. Honestly, the easiest way to tell whether it's a Japanese raccoon dog or a common raccoon dog is simply taking into consideration where you found it. If it's in Japan, then it's most likely Japanese raccoon dog. Otherwise, common raccoon dog. I know it might sound silly, but taking the distribution into consideration is indeed important for practical identification after all. But anyway, let's talk about their ecology. Raccoon dogs are mainly nocturnal, meaning they are mostly active during the night. I mean, if the animals called night wanderer are not nocturnal, that would be quite weird, wouldn't it? However, they can be active during dawn and dusk, but also in daylight. So you decide for yourself whether they deserve their name. Raccoon dogs are often found in covered forests or marshes. In older articles, they are usually noted to be carnivorous, but will opportunistically consume plant material. However, recent publications usually listed them as omnivorous instead. They would eat many things that could fit into their mouth, including small mammals, birds, amphibians, and reptiles, but also fishes, arthropods, even mollusks and crabs, and they would also scavenge carrions of larger animals. They were also observed foraging for eggs and even climbing trees to eat nuts, fruits, and berries. While they are often seen alone, which indicates they are mostly solitary, they could form a group. Another fun fact, raccoon dogs are the only canids that hibernate, or at least goes into torpor. These can span from November to February, even extending to April in some. Some articles noted that they would hibernate in pair. When spring comes, mating season also arrives. They will form a monogamous pair. Gestation period lasts for about 2 months, and the pair will live together during those times. Female will give birth to multiple pups, typically around 6, but a recent publication had reported a female to carry 19 embryos, which is quite something. Both male and female will take care of their pups. Their pups are typically fully weaned after about 2 months, and they will leave their parents after around another 3 months. It will most likely be autumn by then. And soon enough, winter will come. They will find a partner to hibernate together, and then spring comes. By then, they will be ready for reproduction. It is noted that they typically live for up to 7 or 8 years in the wild, but can reach 14 years or so in captivity. And yeah, that's raccoon dog, aka Tanuki. Some of the folklore depictions do have a similarity to how they are in the wild, while some are definitely exaggerated. But that's to be expected, right? Still, with how popular they are and how culturally relevant they are, attention to them won't stop for a while, which means more and more research. Who knows what we'll learn in the future? But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, did you know that the Japanese Emperor Emeritus Akihito published 2 research articles about raccoon dogs? Emperor Akihito was an academic. He mostly did research on gobies though. Anyway, enjoy your day.